Alrighty, this is our Security Plus session, everyone. Thanks for attending. This is Tristan Roberts. We'll be going into Security Plus. So we're going to go over a brief overview of what the exam is going to be like for anyone that hasn't taken a CompTIA exam before, and then we'll go into some practice questions, and then we'll go into some of your questions. So that's the structure that we'll follow. Okay, so for those that haven't taken a CompTIA exam before, real simply put, the structure is all in the objectives. Make sure you find those. This is a copy of the objectives right here. All the details are here. You can see it's going to follow the same structure as all the other CompTIA exams. So you'll have a maximum of 90 questions. Doesn't mean you'll get 90. I have never gotten 90 questions. I've gotten pretty close, 78, 76. The last exam I took a couple of weeks ago, I got about 72, something like that. So somewhere close to 90, you should get 90 minutes, unless you get accommodations. Okay, so you can't get the clock taken out of the equation, but you have to get an accommodation. You have to apply for that and get it approved. Okay, but that's another session. And then here's your recommended experience. They're recommending at least 2 years experience in IT with a focus on security, right? So they're expecting you to kind of have a good base for this stuff. 2 years is, that's a decent amount of experience. So they're assuming that at the very least that you speak the language and that you can follow most of the concepts that are presented in this exam. Okay, so, and then here's your passing score. It equivalates to about 80%. If you get about 80% right, then you should pass this exam. Okay, along with the rest. And then here's your knowledge domains here. So you can see here, this is, it's pretty well-rounded. There's, threat syntax and vulnerabilities, 21%, right? Your technologies and tools, 22, then it kind of drops off a little bit. But overall, it's pretty well-rounded. It's not lopsided like the first A+ exam is kind of hardware heavy when it comes to the percentages. This is a bit more well-rounded, so it just requires you to make sure that you do your homework in all areas. You don't key in on one too much. If there one area where they're not expecting too much, it would be down here with cryptography, right? So, so anyways, so the basic structure of the exam is they're going to give you a few performance-based questions at the beginning. They call them performance-based questions, where you have to do something, right? So they could have you, it could be something like simple matching terms and definitions, or it could be, they could give you a network and give you a bunch of tools and tell you to secure it, right? So expect anything there when it comes to that, but you won't see too many. For the most part, most people are seeing between like 3 and 5, which is, not a lot when you're talking about up to 90 questions, right? You're going to see a few of those, and then the rest of the exam is going to be mostly multiple choice, like we're going to see in a bit. So that's going to be the overall structure. And the one thing I do want to bring up, because a lot of people get thrown off by this, but if you read all the disclosures and stuff prior to starting your exam, the screen right before the exam starts, there's a little disclaimer at the bottom that says that there are questions that may not pertain to anything that's in these particular objectives. Okay. It also says that those questions do not count towards your grade. So basically, they're saying they threw a couple of random questions in there just to mess with you. Don't let them mess with you. Just if it's something that looks like it's left field, just skip it. Make your best guess and just keep moving. Okay, but don't let it throw you off, because I know it has thrown people off in the past, including myself. Okay. So I'm not going to go all the way through these objectives. I'll kind of leave that up to you. What I want to do is I want to kind of get everyone's brain working. So I'm going to throw up a few questions just to kind of test where you guys are at. So I want everyone to kind of participate. Assume that you're sitting down and you're taking the exam right now, and you get these questions, okay, whether you know them or not. It's really about going through the question and trying to figure out what's important and what's not. So I want to make sure you guys get some good practice with that. So before I get started, any questions about Sec Plus, or did anyone take it recently and they have some complaints or whatever? It's been a while since I've taken it, so okay. All right, so bear with me. I just kind of threw these together before the session started, so I'm gonna pull these over. And just put your answers, your responses in the chat box. And so this is the first one. Okay. So it says you're brought in as a security administrator for a large software company. One of the company's servers was victim to a recent ping flood attack, and as a result, the server was down for many hours until the threat was taken care of. Which of the following is the best way to protect against future attacks? Okay, so in this instance, first thing I want everyone to notice is you see a bunch of acronyms down here, right? So I did this on purpose. By the time you get to Security Plus, and this is for everyone, even the people that haven't started yet on CompTIA, you're going to see a lot of acronyms. Okay. When you're starting off with A plus, they are important. It is important to start to understand and get a feel for what they are. By the time that you get to Security Plus, it's essential that you know what these are and you're able to translate these, because by the time you get to security, they're assuming that you know this stuff. And so they do throw a lot of acronyms at you, and with the anticipation that you know what they are. So definitely be prepared. Okay. But okay, so what do you guys think? All right, we have 5 answers here, which is typical on the exam. You're going to see something like this. So option 1, move the server to a DMZ. Okay. Number 2, deploy an IPS on the network. Right. Requires you to understand what an IPS is. Right. 3, move the server to another VLAN. Okay. And then down here we have configuring an ACL to block ICMP and configuring ACL to block HTTP. So let's see what we have here. Before we start going through answers, and I'm starting to see some coming through, which is good. Awesome. You guys, I want you to definitely put those answers in there, and also note a why. If there's a reason why, note that as well, because that's very important. Okay, but so when I look through here, I'm looking for keywords. Okay, every exam, every CompTIA exam is pretty much the same. They're going to give you something that looks like this, and most of the time it's going to have more information than this. Right? They're going to throw in a whole bunch of bells and whistles and cherries and berries. Right? But the main thing is just to look for the meat. Okay, look for the stuff that's important. So before I give away what's important, someone give me an idea of what you think is important. There's a couple things in here that are important, but what is in here that will give away what you're looking for? I see a lot of answers coming through. Awesome. I see D, I see C, I see A. Good. I see B. Good stuff. Then specify what kind of server, right? So that would be an indication that that's not really important, right? It could be any kind of server, right? It could be a media server. It could be a DHCP server, right, where they're pulling dynamic address requests from, right? John says DMZ want to protect against a ping flood. I agree, right? So in that instance, I would throw out A. All right, but let's keep going down. Someone tell me, okay, James says ping flood detection not have been able to get through to the Z. Okay. So I've heard one of the keywords already a few times, right? It's mean a number of different types ruling out A because it may not be able to go. Okay. So everyone's thinking, awesome. All right. So out of everything here, it looks like everyone is catching this right here, right? Ping flood. This is very important for this question, right? Because I could have just said a DD, I could have just said a denial service, right? DOS, but I said a specific kind, right? There's a specific kind of a denial service here, right? And there's a specific way that you would defend against this as well. So, and then the other keyword, obviously, here, and it's going to be best, right? What's the best way? What I want to do is I'm gonna make this all caps because on the exam, this is what it'll look like. This is what you'll see when you're taking the exam. It'll say best or first or next or something like that that kind of gives you an idea where you're at. But okay, so let's come back down here. Okay, so deploy an IPS on the network. Okay, so first of all, what's the IPS? We have to make sure we know what that is, right? Intrusion protection system, right? So it is something that we deploy on the network to harden it, right, to make it more secure. But is the IPS going to guard against a ping flood attack? That's the question. Probably not, right? Unless you configure it to do so, right? So I'm gonna throw out B for now. 3, move the server to another VLAN. Would that work? Anyone who thinks that moving the server to another VLAN, basically just putting it in another subnet, all right? Would that guard against a ping flood attack? Probably not. It's just, you know, it's like moving it to, just taking something from one room and putting it in another room, right? Someone wants to get to it, they can probably get to it, right? And then we have D and E down here, right? We have configuring ACL to block 2 different protocols. Now, I saw Matthew mentioned up here that ping equals ICMP, right? That's absolutely correct. So would this work? Could this work if you did it right? So we configure an ACL that would block ICMP and that would guard against a ping flood attack.
Yes.
Exactly. There you go. Right? HTTP, what is this doing?
It's blocking email traffic.
Right. Well, not email traffic, specifically web traffic. Right. HTTP is support associated for web traffic. So this is, you would configure this ACL if you wanted to block people from, you know, a specific subnet or something from using the internet. So let's say maybe we don't want the sales department using the internet during work hours. So we configure an ACL that blocks web traffic during the time where they're supposed to be calling, making sales, right? Something like that. So in this instance, yeah, the key word here, right, the key phrase, right, is ping flood, right? Because this tells you which protocol we need to block. We're trying to guard against ping floods, and so we would want to block ICMP. That way, if any pings come through, they get dropped before they even make it to the server, right? And the same thing with HTTP, right? If we wanted to block some type of web traffic up here, then in that instance, you know, we would configure the ACL to block HTTP. So, yeah, Matthew, you got it. You're right on. You found the key word, and and the protocol that went with it. Okay, this is what they're going to do to you on this exam, so be prepared. Okay, it takes a deeper level of understanding. Notice that they didn't ask, which protocol is associated with ping. They put it in a scenario. They said, look, this is what's happening. We want to make sure that this doesn't happen again. How do we stop it? Okay, that's the type of approach that you need to be ready for Security Plus. Okay, you're going to see stuff that looks like this. So, yeah, none of this, if you move the server to a DMZ, that's not going to protect it against a ping flood, right? It's just it's like moving it to another section of the network, sort of a network outside your network, but it's not going to guard against a ping flood, okay? And choosing prevention is something that you do want to deploy on your network, but again, this is just looking for intrusions and things like that, right? It's not guarding against pings. Okay. This is it's kind of like doing this just on a different level, right? Moving it to another subnet's not really gonna guard it from pings either, right? It's something that someone may try, but it's not really gonna guard it. And then so here you go. It just comes down to finding the right protocol. All right. Any questions there on that one? Okay, awesome. Okay, to web traffic. Yeah, good job, guys. Okay, all right, so I have another one. Okay, this one here, I'm gonna make it a little bit bigger for you guys. Make sure you can read it. Okay, so you suspect that one of the PCs that has been recently added to the network may be infected with malware. After running a quick scan reveals no threats, you continue to see symptoms of malware. What is the next best step? Be careful with this one. Okay. I see, got a couple C's. Any other guesses? What we got? If you guys have explanations, throw them out there, please. Okay, you got another C. I'm looking for a Y. Okay. Everyone's liking C right now. Okay. So let's look at it. Maybe, does anyone have any other ones? Kelly's saying you want to disconnect the key from spreading anything. Okay. I like that explanation. Andrew's saying even with the suspicion, I would be cautious and protect the network because if I'm wrong, a little extra word can't hurt anything, right? Better to be safe. Okay. Good explanations. Disconnect so it does not spread. Yeah. Right. Okay, so a couple things here, right? I wasn't very, very specific. And this is another thing that you need to look for when you're taking the exam. Sometimes it's kind of hard. There's some instances where they'll be pointing at something directly, okay? They'll say it like flat out, this is what the problem is. In other instances, they may say this is what you think, okay? It just comes back to the troubleshooting thing. You have to remember where you are, right? What do you know? And then also, most of you're all right. You're all saying it's better to be safe than sorry, right? So when you look at this one, you're saying you suspect a PC is, may be infected with some malware, right? You run a scan and it comes back to nothing, right? But you're still seeing symptoms and you're still thinking that even though I just ran the scan and it's saying that there's nothing there, it's still acting like there's something there, right? So restart the PC to see if the problem still exists. No, I mean, I wouldn't go there yet, right? And then you have run a full scan, right? So you just ran a quick scan and nothing came back, and now you're saying, okay, well, I'm still seeing stuff. Maybe I should run a full scan. This could be an option, but this isn't the best step, right? Make sure you're looking for these. I kind of gave you two of the same ones, but make sure you're always looking for those, okay? I can't stress it enough. I saw it probably eight out of every 10 questions. 8 out of every 10 questions has at least one keyword like this. So make sure you look for those. The one you guys are all picking, disconnect from the network and run a full scan. Yeah, to me, that would probably be the next best step. Do a system restore back to a known good restore point. This is kind of after. This is what you're going to do after this, right? You run a full scan, you run a quick scan, nothing, you run a full scan, nothing, and it's still, still acting weird. You're not going to do a restore before you run a full scan, right? It's just kind of about putting things where they're supposed to be. Then wipe the drive and start over with a clean install. This is going to be your last resort, right? I mean, you have to back up everything. You're basically starting over from scratch. All your applications, your files, your programs, everything is going to be gone. Anything that you didn't back up. So, yeah, this is worst case scenario, and I've had to do this. I've had to do this, and I've had to do all of these. So the thing is make sure you do them in order, okay? And a lot of the times when you're taking these exams, this is another thing. It was driving me crazy when I was taking my last exam. But yeah, they give you all these things, right? These are all things that you try. These are all things that you do. It just depends on when you do it, right? So they're going to tell you where you are up here, but it's going to be subtle. So you have to make sure you pick up on it, and then that's going to tell you where you go when you get down here. All right. So up here, we've just got past the quick scan. So quick scan, we've just kind of got started. And so we're just moving through the process, right? We're going from quick scan to the next one, full scan. But if you have an option between these two, which is basically, well, no, it's two different things, right? I mean, you're running a full scan, but in this option, you're just being safe, right? When it comes to Security Plus, always look for the option that looks more safer than everything else. Okay, this looks more safer than this, right? Because you're just connected from the network. So like you all stated, right, you don't want anything to spread. You don't know what it is. If it's a worm can spread like that, right? So yeah, definitely disconnect from the network, run a full scan, see what happens after that. If it still comes back to nothing and it's still acting the same, then there's some other things that you want to start doing before you get to the restore point, right? There's some other things that you can do. Maybe you can check SFC, see if there's any corrupted files that need to be repaired or fixed, right? Check disk, right? You can run disk defrag, right? Just depending on what the symptoms are, because I didn't say what the symptoms were either. So this is kind of broad right now. You're still in the information gathering stage, right? I didn't say that you're getting pop-ups or that the system is running slow or maybe the resources are in high usage, right? I didn't really say what it is. I just said you're seeing symptoms, right? So pay close attention to the information that's given to you. Sometimes it'll be vague. Sometimes it'll be specific. But, it's always about picking the best option, okay? I mean, you can easily pick any of these just depending on the information that was up here. So be very, very careful. Andrew was saying if I'm right, then the malware can spread. Yeah, it could, right? The point is right now, we don't know. We have no clue. We're seeing stuff that doesn't look right. So we're still in the information gathering stage. And that's when you're doing like the simple stuff, right? Okay. Full scan. Good job. You guys all got that one right. Personal PC of the skull. Too easy to do. Just did it the other day. Right. Okay. Okay, I think I have another one down here. What's going on? Just going through the questions. Give me a second. Making sure I didn't miss anything. Okay. All right. So, yeah, I do have one more down here. Let's take a look here. All right. So this one's a little bit more simple. Okay. Don't expect to see too many like these. But when I say it's simple, I don't mean it's simple to answer. I mean, it's just, there's not a ton of information here to try to figure out. It's kind of to the point, right? It's just about, okay, which one of these will harden the network, right? And so this is another type of question that you can see. It's going to come in multiple choice form, but it's going to ask you to select multiple answers. Okay, so I like to try to throw at least one or two of these in there when I'm coming up with questions. And so hopefully, you guys kind of get a feel for what you're going to see when you take the exam, because it's hard to simulate that. It really is. I've taken enough of these and I'm used to the wording. So it's a little easier for me to do, I guess. But, when you go out to all those other resources like Exam Compass, like Pocket Prep, even Online Expert, they're not worded the way that the questions are worded on the actual exam. So it's hard to to simulate that. So, yeah, when I try to do it, I try to throw a lot of acronyms in there, so you guys to try to throw you guys off, or hopefully you know what they are. Okay, so this one here really it just requires you to understand what this means, right? What does hardening mean? When you're hardening, when they ask you to harden the network, to harden the system, right? What is it saying? Anyone? Someone shout it out. There you go. John hit the nail right on the head. You're making it more secure. You're taking steps to to secure the system, right? Make it harder to infiltrate, or things like that. So that's what hardening means. Make sure you know this. If by the time you're taking Security Plus, you need to know this. Okay. So we have a couple here. The good thing about these questions on the exam, they always tell you how many, because that can be confusing sometimes if they just throw a bunch of answers down here. So they'll tell you how many picks. Sometimes it'll be 2, sometimes it'll be 3. More than likely, it'll be 2 or 3. So, all right. So we have a couple here. Let's see what we have. Anyone else? I have an E and an F. Okay. What else? I think Kelly put something E and F. Kelly put E and F. Okay. And she says, Sticky Mac will limit the devices allowed. Absolutely. All right. Multiple VLANs will help segment the network. Absolutely. Absolutely correct. Okay. What else? Any other ones? E and F. Most people are looking at E and F. Remember, I'm going to give you guys a hint here, right? Keyword, right? Just because something down here is good does not mean that it's making the network more secure. It could just mean that it's doing something else. So make sure you pay close attention. This will get you. EMF, I see EMF. No one says anything else, huh? John says A and F. Okay. So we got an A in there. No B's. No one likes Telnet. No one likes DHCP. Okay. Are we all out of guesses here? All out of answers? I like that you guys are putting your explanations in there. Awesome. I love it. Kelly says never Telnet. John, okay, JB says B and E. He says yes, Telnet. He likes Telnet. Okay. Kelly says SSH. I agree. Especially on Security Plus. On Security Plus, Secure Shell. Yes. Okay. All right. So let's go through these real quick. All right. John says he likes DHCP, but he doesn't think it hard is. You're right on point. It makes things a lot more convenient, though, right? It makes things a lot more convenient, but it does not harden. Absolutely. Okay. So let's come back up here, right? We are looking for things that are going to make our network more secure. All right. So let's start with A. Assigning addresses statically. Does this make the network more secure or less secure? I think only one person picked A. John says more secure. Think about it. If I came to your house right now and I wanted access to your network, if you were using DHCP, how much information would you have to give me? Matthew says, yes, because you assign the IP addresses. Yeah, you assign more than that if you do it statically. You could give out an address with DHCP. Yes, you could. But if I came to your house and you're using DHCP, right, how much information would you have to give me? You would have to give me the SSID, right, and a password. Would I need anything else? Would I need to know the address of the DNS server? Would I need to know the default gateway? Would I need to know the subnet mask? No. If you're assigning an address statically, you have to know all of that, right? And so because of that, this makes it harder to get on the network, right? Which makes it more secure. So yeah, A is one of the answers, right? I think someone did pick A. I saw a lot of E and S though, but okay. So yes, assigning addresses statically is going to make your network more secure. It's going to make your life a pain too, especially if you have, over, I don't know. If you have over 10 devices, you'll probably be mad when you get to number 4 after you're, because it's a pain, but it does make your network more secure because you need more information to gain access now. Here, you just need the SSID and the password, right? Here, you need a lot more information to gain access to the network. So, okay. B, throw that one out. I agree with Kelly. Never want to use Telnet, especially on Security Plus. Okay. Secure Shell always. Secure Shell, Telnet do the same thing. Secure Shells it does it more secure. Everything is encrypted with Secure Shell. So you never want to use Telnet. This does not harden the system. Okay. We just talked about why this doesn't harden the system. What this does is it makes things a lot easier because of what we already talked about, right? Now instead of going around and having to configure all of the devices manually, right? You just set up a DHCP pool and you enable DHCP, right? Now all you have to do is just put the passwords in and everything is configured. You don't have to do much, right? So it makes things a lot easier. What this does is this is more of a convenient thing, right? It doesn't harden the system, just makes it easier, okay? Port forwarding. Yeah, this isn't going to harden the system. What this is going to do is just going to, you're sending things through certain ports. So, you're just forwarding. It doesn't really harden the system. It makes things a little bit more efficient, or maybe, but no. E. Everyone that picked E, you're absolutely correct, right? It just requires you to understand what sticky MAC is. It's a form of port security, right? So on the switch, you can configure sticky MAC, and when you do that, the first device that you plug into that port, the interface is going to remember the MAC address of that device, and from that point on, any device is only going to allow access to that device that has that MAC address. If another device tries to plug into that port, it's going to do what you tell it to do. There's some other options. There's a shutdown option where it just shuts down. There's an option where it lets you know that another device tried to plug into it. There's a few different options, but the main thing is just understanding what Sticky MAC is. If you know what this is, you know that it's going to harden your system, because now you have limited access to any port that you configure with Sticky MAC. Only the MAC address, only the device that has the MAC address that it remembers will have access to that port. Okay, so that's what Sticky MAC is. All right, and creating multiple VLANs. A few of you picked this one, right? A lot of you picked ENF. This one, remember, like I said, just because something is good, because you do something doesn't mean that you harden the system. So what this does is mainly creating multiple VLANs is going to make your network more efficient, because when you're sending out broadcasts, now it's not going to every device that's on the network. It's just going to the devices that happen to be in that particular VLAN, right? So let's say you have 100 devices. You have a network that has 100 devices all connected and they're all in the same VLAN. Well, if I send out a broadcast, that broadcast is going to go out to every device, because that's one broadcast domain, right? If all the devices are in the same VLAN, right, well, they're in one broadcast domain. So that broadcast will go out to every device, all 100 of them, right? But let's say that I have 4 departments and I'll split them all up by 25. So now I have a marketing department, I have a sales department, I have an IT department, and I have a, I don't know, what's the other department? What's another one? Whatever, the managers or something like that, right? If I need to send a broadcast out to the managers, if I split up my network into multiple VLANs, well, now it's just going to go to the 25 that happen to be in that VLAN, right? So that's 75 pings that are not going out because I split up my network into different VLANs. Okay, hopefully that makes sense to you guys. And so what that's doing is it's not really making the network more secure, but just making it a lot more efficient, right? Because you're not wasting a lot of pings. I don't know who was here, who was present the last time I was doing a Net Plus session last Friday, but I was using Packet Tracer, and I started a ping and I forgot how to stop it. So it was constant. It was just going nonstop, right? And that's what happens in networks. The devices are always pinging, looking for each other, making sure that they're still up and available. So when you create more broadcast domains, you make your network more efficient. This is more of a networking thing, but this is a networking and a security question, right? It just kind of boils down to what you're trying to do. So in this instance, the 2 of these that will make this network more secure are going to be assigning addresses statically and configure the Sticky MAC, right? These other ones, this one, it makes it more convenient, but you never want to use Telnet because it's not secure. It broadcasts in plain text. So that's going to be secure shell. And then these ones, like I said, they make your network more, this one makes it more, it makes it more, what's the word? I can't even think of it. It makes it easier to do things, and then this one makes it more efficient. Any questions there? Andrew says it's basically like giving away critical info. Yeah, if you're using Telnet, because what happens is if you log into a switch, right? Let me show you real quick. So I'm going to bring up like an old Packet Tracer, one of these that have a switch on. Okay. So I haven't opened up the VTY lines, so I'm not gonna demonstrate, but I'll just show you real quick. Okay, so here's a switch. We have a couple of routers, and we have another switch here, right? So the idea behind Telnet is I have these multiple access points, and let's say that I'm over here connected directly to this switch, but I have some changes I want to make to this switch without having to physically go to it. And so what you would do then is you open up the VTY lines, and that lets you, it's basically virtual terminal lines, and that allows you to remote into this access point over here, right? I can get into this switch over here without having to physically go to it. That's what Telnet does, right? So here's the problem, right? Let's say that I'm telnetting from over here to over here, and there's a man in the middle somewhere that's intercepting. Well, they're going to see everything because Telnet is displayed in plain, right? It's not encrypted. So let me get in here real quick. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to do show run, all right? Show running config. It'll help me when I spell it right? Okay. So when you do show run, it basically shows you all the changes that you made to the switch. So you can come in here and it'll show you. So you can see here, right? There's no passwords. I don't have any passwords here, and they're not encrypted. But if I did put a password in here, it would be in plain text. If I did there's two passwords. There's the password, and then there's the secret password. Secret password is going to be encrypted, so it's going to show, and it'll be here, but it's just you won't be able to see it in plain. But all this stuff here, right? If someone is looking, they'll be able to see it, right? If I did put password in here, it would show up here. So then you can see here, right? The VTY lines they're not open, but if they were, it creates a threat vector, especially in Security Plus, right? If you open up the VTY lines, it creates a threat vector. So what's the other thing that you want to make sure that you have if you open up the VTY lines? Anyone? Someone shout it out. If you're going to open up the VTY lines and give access to and give remote access from different places, what's something that you want to make sure that you have there in place?
Password protected.
Absolutely, right. So when you do go in and you open up these VTY lines, you want to make sure that you're adding the password at the same time, and you want to make sure that you're adding an encrypted password. Okay. So, okay. So I'm not talking about Telnet. So, not Telnet. Oh, okay. I'm sorry. What were you talking about? You were referring to static IP. Well, yeah. But it's not really. I wouldn't call it critical info because for the most part, I mean, I could probably guess. I could probably go to someone's other network and I could guess most of the information. It's not really hard to find, right? IP config will tell you just about everything that you need to know. It's not really critical, but it's more info. You have to know the DNS server, right? You have to know the default gateway. You have to know the subnet mask, right? In most cases, in the SOHO, the subnet mask is going to be a classful, class C, right? Which is pretty typical for most home networks, right? But yeah, so the main thing is you need to know more information, right? I mean, if you came to my house, I could just give you a password and you'd be on my network like that. So, okay, gain access to the router and then look at your assigned static IP. looked at your son. Yeah, but I mean, then again, you have to gain access to the router, right? So that's something that it could be done. I mean, you could brute force your way into someone's router. I think most people don't change their settings, but their login info. But yeah, I mean, you would have to get into the router, but it still proves the same point. You have a bunch of extra steps and extra things that you have to do in order to do that. And so all you really need is the range. I mean, look, if I want to know what the range is, I'll just, hold on, sorry. CLD, I'm running as an administrator. How much time? We got about 5 minutes left. So, okay. So yeah, I mean, look, figure out IP config, right, and get just about all the information I need right here, right? I come in here and look, so I have an IP address here, right? I have a subnet mask. This right here tells me everything that I need to know except for the default gateway, but I could probably guess, in most cases, most instances, the default gateway is going to be the first usable, right? 9 times out of 10. But the main thing is, if you know the range, right? I know this right here is a range that I have 254 options, right? Within this range, within the 0.0 to 0.255. So this is all the information you really need, right, to get on. And you can just use, I mean, in most instances, I don't use the onboard DNS anyway. I always use Google. So you could just, you could use 8.8.8.8 or 8.8.4.4 for a DNS server, right? So if you really wanted to, if you were tenacious enough, right, you could figure out, what address will get you on the network, right? But it's going to be a little tedious. It's not as easy as just typing in the password. That's the whole point. So yeah, I mean, you're right. It's just, you're going to have to do a lot more. Okay. No worries. This is all good. It's all good information. So, you think of a router as a weak point for war driving. Yeah, because you need more information, right? I mean, you can find the network, but you have to, unless someone didn't change their password or whatever, it's really just going to tell you about what's available. It's not going to give you any information past that. So anyway, this is all good stuff. It's all network and security related. So, all right. So I'm done for today. Those were 3 good questions. You guys did a good job on those. I love the explanations. Make sure you always put thought into why you're picking something or into why you're not picking something, because it's important, especially on the exam. The why is very important because it will help you eliminate answers that look like you should pick them, and then it'll help you include answers that maybe you thought that you shouldn't pick, right? So the why is very important behind this stuff. Thanks, John. Appreciate it. So this is the end of this session, security. I will have it posted for you all within the next couple of days. So it'll be available in the student forum for you all under the tutor replay section. And yeah, next session will be tomorrow. We'll be talking about NetPlus. So any other questions? Nope. All right. All right, great session, guys. I will definitely see you next time. Thanks for showing up and participating.